I grew up in a family where we went to church. We went to church every Sunday, whether you liked it or not. And spoiler alert, I didn't like it. It was a chore. It was chore church. My parents are great people. They're incredibly sweet and considerate. They're very selfless. I'm the youngest, so I'm the troublemaker, and that's exactly what I did. I got into a lot of trouble. I was dating this girl in high school when I was about 16. It was a typical teenage mess of a relationship. We broke up, we got back together, all the whole spiel. So one night she was coming over secretly to hang out. She came over, and instead of hanging out, she told me she was pregnant. Kind of a shock. We were both 16 at the time. The relationship got rocky, so we split up with the full intent of co-parenting. We were engaged and everything, but it just was so chaotic. We were so young. About the time this young boy was 6 months old, I remember my mom came to me and she told me, Thomas, that boy does not look like a dimmer. We're going to do a pregnancy test, a paternity test to, just check that you're actually the father. And it was the night after graduation. I came home from a really late shift, 11 p.m. And when I walked in, my parents were still awake. Them being awake at 11 p.m. was something was up. And I knew right away. They were up, and the test had come back, and it was 0% me. So it was hard. And for the next couple of years, I dealt with that trauma as it came upon me slowly but surely. I dealt with it with partying. I dealt with it with women, drugs. I dealt drugs. I got arrested. I got into a lot of trouble between 18 years old and 20 years old. So I was in college, and I was in this class where they immediately split you up into groups, study groups, project groups, whatever. That's your group for the whole semester. And I was meeting up with this group, and there was one other person there in the group. Her name was Vivian. She started talking to me about this revelation of her faith and how she had just realized that every prayer she had ever prayed to God had been answered. And she was looking retrospectively in her life and all the prayers she prayed, and she was just naming them off, and how they came to fruition, how God was always there. And as she was talking to me, I started to realize this was happening to me too. This had happened to me. Every prayer I had prayed in times of hardship or little things, big things, they were answered one way or another. For example, I went to a party one night and I did not bring my drugs with me, which is crazy. I was the guy. I brought the backpack. And that night I didn't. And that was the night that I got pulled over for drinking and driving, and I got arrested, but I didn't have any I didn't have anything on me, which is nuts. Things like this. One prayer specifically that hit me the hardest was the prayer I prayed in junior year military history class. This girl had just told me she was pregnant. She just showed me the stick for positive, and we were waiting for the doctor visit to confirm. And I was in this class and I was praying to God, please don't let me be a father right now. And I never was. I was brought to Vivian that evening specifically to hear her testimony. And when I got on that shuttle bus to get back to my car at UTSA, I cried like a baby thinking about this. And that was the moment that I knew that through everything I had ever been through, God was always there protecting me and answering those prayers and keeping me out of more trouble than I could handle. That was so surreal. I will never forget the feeling that I had of just, it felt like I was being washed with something warm, and my soul was it's like I was floating, but I was crying so hard on this shuttle. And I knew right then and there that I would be in a hot pursuit of Christ, and getting to know him more and loving him and depending on him. And I have been. And it just gets better and better and better the longer it goes on. The longer my relationship with Christ goes, the better my life has gotten. It's not without its struggle and its hardship. My life and the things that I have now took a lot of faith and prayer to get here, but I just can't imagine my life now without that moment happening to me, and my relationship with Christ becoming so real. By the time I met Hannah, my now wife, I play in the worship band. I play guitar for the worship band, and I've played in multiple churches, and I had experienced a lot of different things. Church hurt that I overcame. By the time I met Hannah, I was solid in my faith, and I knew without a doubt that faith was going to be a big part of our relationship, our marriage. And I made that very clear from the beginning, to her, that church was going to happen, that she was going to learn more about Christ and have a relationship with him. And, I wanted her to know that early, not just through my words, but through my actions and my example, my leadership. I wanted to give her an opportunity early on to say that wasn't for her, because if it wasn't for her, then she wasn't going to be for me. So I was very solid in my relationship with Christ. You got to have ups, but you also have to have the downs. Sometimes you got to get hurt. You got to break to be rebuilt into something or someone that God needs you to be in order for his purpose. So I had been through a lot with my faith by the time I met Hannah, that I had overcome. I'm all in. I met Hannah, I'm all in with Jesus every day.